Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. If you're joining us on YouTube, thank you for stopping by. We're so glad to have you here and invite you to subscribe to our channel for more videos on all things aphasia. This is Ask the Expert. In this series, experts will be answering your questions related to aphasia. I'll be one of your moderators for this hour-long session. My name is Jen. I'm part of the team at the National Aphasia Association. This year, we're celebrating 35 years of support, providing access to research, education, rehabilitation, therapeutic, and advocacy services. Today's topic is living with aphasia, and we are joined by some true experts. On today's agenda, we'll be hearing from the president of the National Aphasia Association, Darlene Williamson. Darlene will be sharing a message from the founder of the National Aphasia Association, Martha Taylor Sarno. We also have a message from former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. We'll be hearing from Cris Gomes, Michael Hayden, Doreen Mendez, and Coleman Watson. Finally, we'll open up the floor to those in our live audience for questions. So I am going to hand it over to Darlene.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. This has been a very successful endeavor for the NAA. I love these Ask the Expert sessions. And the topics mostly come from you. You suggest the topics to us. Can you find an expert about this? Can we talk about this? And we do our best. And so we're going to continue to do this for the remainder of the year and hopefully beyond. But it seemed to me that the real experts during June, Aphasia Awareness Month, are people with aphasia. So we are very, very fortunate to have put together a diverse and a successful panel of people of your peers to speak to you tonight. And I don't want to take up a lot of time. I just want to thank you all for supporting not only this, but all of our initiatives. And then Jen, if you would put up Martha's slide, I'm going to read it to you. It's kind of small font, and I want to be sure everyone hears her message. So as you know, we are celebrating our 35th year, and Martha Taylor Sarno, as a young, fresh speech pathologist, went into the hospital and faced a number of people with aphasia and learned from them. And one of the things she learned was that when people with aphasia get together with other people with aphasia, it brightens their day and it certainly helps their outlook and their language. And so she had an idea to form an organization for families living with aphasia. And this was a concept 35 years ago that didn't exist in the medical world. So she truly is a pioneer, and she sends you this message. Good evening. I'm so pleased and honored to share this very special event, the 35th anniversary of the beginning of the National Aphasia Association, which we call the NAA, with everyone everywhere who has aphasia or who lives with aphasia or cares for someone with aphasia, as well as my dedicated colleagues around the globe who provide speech-language pathology services to people with aphasia in a broad spectrum of languages. The NAA has succeeded in bringing together a diverse and inclusive community of individuals who share living with aphasia. Its accomplishments have exceeded the wishes of those of us who founded the organization 35 years ago. I send my very best wishes to all of you in the aphasia community during Aphasia Awareness Month and for the remainder of the year. Martha Taylor Sarno. So hats off to you, Martha. We are happy to be continuing your vision. And Martha is going to be sharing more of the history of the founding and the organization as it grew. So I'm turning it back over to Jen.
Thank you so much. And so next we have a beautiful message from former United States Representative Gabrielle Giffords. So let me put that on my screen.
I'm Gabby Giffords. I'm from Tucson, Arizona. January 8th, 2011 changed my life forever. I was a congresswoman. I was shot in my head while meeting with my constituents. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. But confronted by despair, I summoned hope. Confronted by paralysis and aphasia, I responded with grit and determination. I put one foot in front of the other. I found one word and then I found another. My recovery is a daily fight, but fighting makes me stronger. Words once came easily. Today I struggle to speak. Aphasia really sucks. The words are there in my brain. I just can't get them out. I love to talk. I'm Gabby, and I'm so quiet now. It can be so difficult. Losses hurt. Setbacks are hard. But I tell myself, move ahead. I'm finding joy in small things. Ride my bike, playing the French horn, going to the gym, laughing with friends. The small things add up. You are not alone. We got this.
So what a beautiful and powerful message by Gabby Giffords. If you would like to rewatch that video, it will be made available on the National Aphasia Association's YouTube page after today's webinar. Okay. Next, we are going to have Cris Gomes talk about her journey with stroke and how it's affected her family and professional life. So Cris Gomes is a bilingual CF speech language pathologist who had a massive stroke in 2021, just 3 months after her second child was born. Cris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I decided that I'm going to focus more on the fact that I am a speech pathologist because that is a unique part of my story, so that it doesn't take time away from the session with the other panelists. The way that aphasia has affected me has been very unique and unusual, because I had all of my speech pathology knowledge in my brain as I was recovering from my stroke. And so I could not say anything other than yes or no in ICU, but I knew exactly what was happening. And when I was taken to a swallow study, I was reciting exactly the spiel that the speech pathologist was giving to me, that I had been giving to my patients months before. And so, as you all know, all the words are there, as Gabby just said, but they couldn't come out. And so my experience has been very unusual, because I've had the experience of knowing exactly what's happening and not being able to get myself there. I obviously can't do therapy with myself. And so I have worked very hard. I worked for about a year in therapy to get to the point where I could return to work. But it has been very difficult to reconcile my experience with my knowledge. It has been good because I've been able to disassociate myself from my experience. The first few days in ICU where I couldn't say anything, I knew that that wasn't me. And I think that was probably a blessing that I did not have the same frustration. Of course, I had a lot of frustration, but I did not have the same frustration because I knew that that wasn't me. I knew that that was something that happened in my brain, and that was not going to be that was not going to be my situation permanently. And so I'm so grateful for my family and a community of speech pathologists who have supported me and who were offering free therapy over Zoom. You know, my stroke happened at in the middle of the pandemic. And so I was completely alone in ICU. My husband couldn't even come to visit me. And I had friends who couldn't really support me in person. And so I had a lot of friends who were able to, like I said, help me over Zoom, and who could cheer me on when I had a new word, a new phrase that I was able to say. They were really able to recognize my progress, which was so helpful. For my family, it was very good for me to be able to laugh. I am a very joyful person. I love to laugh. I have a good sense of humor. And so for my family to be able to laugh with me was probably truly the best medicine for me. That I was able to laugh, excuse me, that I was able to laugh at myself, and that they were able to laugh with me, really helped me to move on past and move through the grief, which of course I experienced and I still do. But it was very good for me to have the support of family to get me through the hardest first year, right? And so now I have returned to work. I am back to work, working as a speech pathologist. I have the amazing privilege of treating survivors of stroke, and I am able to share with them my insight. And I feel that the ones that I have been able to share that with, they feel that I really understand when they are having a bad talking day, which I had a lot and I still have. I'm able to say, I know exactly how that feels, and that tomorrow might be better, you know? And so it has been a really good opportunity for me to serve the population that I wanted to serve. I wanted to work with adults. I wanted to work with people with aphasia. I did not know myself that I would turn out to be one. But it has turned out to be it has been a blessing for me. And so I'm grateful for this opportunity to share my story.
Thank you so much. We are getting some comments that your story is very inspiring. And of course, I'd like to second that. I know we have a speech language pathologist student with aphasia in our audience as well. So we're very happy to have you here with us today, Cris.
Thank you.
Actually, we have one question. Are you willing to share what state you're in?
Yes, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm just north of Oklahoma City.
Thank you. Okay, so next we have, let's see, former CIA director and author of the New York Times bestseller, The Assault on Intelligence. General Michael Hayden is with us. Let me put a
Hello.
light on you.
Good.
Mike,
And
thank you
so
for
I
joining
want to
us
say
today.
something about my stroke. So could you do it for me, please? Thank you. So I had a stroke. It was 3.5 years ago. Next, please.
Sure, Mike, would it be okay if you just sat a little bit back, because right now
Yeah.
we're not seeing your whole head.
Okay.
We'd love to see your whole face. Thank you.
Fine.
Okay, there we go.
So I was in the military 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I was on Guam, for example. I was 2 times in Korea. Next. I was in Bulgaria at the communist period, and Janine and I speak Bulgarian. Later on, I was in Germany, and I was in Stuttgart, and then I was in Bosnia a lot during the Civil War. Next. I was part of NSA and CIA. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years at NSA, and 1, 2, 3 at CIA. Okay. After that, I retired. I did a lot of things. I was on CNN a lot. You can see there. Next, please. I in 3.5 years ago, we were in Normandy, and my wife was there. You could see we were in Paris. The kids were all there for a cruise. It was wonderful. And then it happened. Next, please. There it was. I had a stroke in the middle of the day, right before Christmas. You can, Thanksgiving. You can see it now. Next. So I was in the hospital. The kids were there, and that was really good for me. They were very good to do many things for me. Next. There it was right before Christmas. I was trying to walk. Next. This is Christmas Day in the hospital, and everybody was there. It was very nice. Next. This is my youngest grandson. We watched Spotted, and believe me, he was really good at me. No, he is good at him than I was before, but we were at home. Next. So I went to the Stroke Comeback Center. It was very, very good for me. I'm there now 2 years, and it looks very good for me. Next, please. You look at this book club, the Americans, presentations, movies, and so on. I like it a lot. It was very important for me. Next. Oh yeah, I can drive again.
Oh,
A long time, but I can drive.
mhm.
Next. And here is my wife and kids. They mean a lot for me. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I want to quickly mention that the Stroke Comeback Center is located in Virginia. There's also a location in Maryland. So if any of you are interested in learning more about the Stroke Comeback Center, please feel free to send me a message. I'm going to put my email in the chat. Mike, I want to also say that we are getting so many messages in the chat box that is thanking you for your service to the country. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'm also going to have to get you to autograph my copy of your book one day.
Okay.
And I heard you mention the name Janine. Who is Janine?
That's my wife, Janine.
Oh, wonderful. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
actually, the kids were there on a trip. We were going to Alaska right before my stroke, and we were there 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Wonderful.
We were married.
That's beautiful. Okay, so before I move on to our next panelist, I also want to mention that a few people are sharing in the chat that there is also the Adler Aphasia Center, and that is similar to the Stroke Comeback Center, and they can be found in New Jersey. So again, if you need any of these resources, feel free to email me. My email is in the chat box. Okay, next, let me spotlight you. There we go. Next, we'll hear from Doreen Mendez Sierra, a National Aphasia Association board member, the chair and vice president of Community Outreach, Education, and Strategic Alliances, and a former corporate executive of international relations, marketing, and communication in the satellite, broadcast, and high technologies. In 2012, her career was halted due to a catastrophic stroke. Since then, she's focused on advocacy efforts, learning, and giving back. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone. So my name is Doreen Mendez, for those who don't know me. I have aphasia, and I had a massive stroke. It was a double whammy, ischemic and hemorrhagic stroke. And I was in coma, did the whole thing for a long time. And it took me, I was locked in. After the stroke, I was locked in. So when I finally were able to speak, it took me almost a whole year. It was harrowing, very difficult. And I am a single mom, and my kids were teenagers when this happened. And we were not in the country when it happened either. And so it was a big situation. But slowly but surely, the world, my relations around the world step up to the plate to help my children and myself while I was there. So I have been, before, I used to work for technology in the corporate world, working in what are the odds in communications. And so, and doing government relationships, technology for broadcasting, and even for NASA. And so I was around the world. My life was very stressful, but I loved it, every second of it, because it was about words. Little did I know that the fight of my life was really with finding my own words. And so it's been, now it has been 10 years now. Now, June 2nd, it was 2 years. 10 years that this happened. And since then, I moved from where I was in order to come back to home in New York. And in New York, I found my people. I always tell everyone, I found my people, my aphasia people, immediately in New York. So with the help of my alma mater in Lehman College at the CUNY system. And they have a wonderful speech program for people with aphasia, and also with work rehab in Westchester here in New York, an Adler Center in Jersey, and NYU in Manhattan. And so I started my hard work doing intense therapy, even the very intense how do they say the therapy that is only for blocks of time. So for 10 weeks, very intense, and it was very hard, but I did it. After my first year doing that, I were able to speak. I met Avi, I met Barbara Kessler and Steve Kessler, the group from NYU. And you know that when I came to New York, before coming into New York, I actually tried to reach National Aphasia Association, but I couldn't write, speak, or anything. I was locked in, and so a neighbor, I think it was, sent me an address so that you send me information, because I couldn't find anything online either. And so it was a different situation. I also, while I was doing the therapy, I started looking for other universities. And so I went to in the central of the nation, and also in the west. And so it was wonderful, wonderful resources, but you have to be there. It was the way. There was no Zoom at that time. Although there was Skype, but no programs for Skype. So the irony for me was that that word is hard for me. Irony. And so the irony for me is that early in my career, I used to work in Sony Electronics. And at that time, there was one of our accounts there were doing telemedicine. And so, but there was no Zoom. We're just doing it through a closed caption in countries, in Peru. So I knew that, though. So I knew that we have to find other ways. My children were instrumental. Even though they were teenagers at the time, they also were the ones that do the research for me. So when I couldn't speak or write, to this day, it's been 10 years and I can't properly write. It takes me a long time to get long sentences out. So so that takes time. So I always tell everyone, I do read perfectly, but I cannot write still. And so I do, but not not long like I used to before. So that's my story, more or less. I wanted to bring pictures because you can see it peppered all through social media, everywhere I've been. And I started doing advocacy since my first year that my stroke. I was 9 months out when I went into my first advocacy conference. And so, and from there, I haven't stopped. So I'm so very grateful for the opportunity to represent National Aphasia Association, doing the outreach for the communities and for education and for diversity and inclusion. And so I wanted to also say that, and I didn't mention it before, I am a polyglot. I used to speak 7 languages. And that's why, the reason why I was locked in for a long time. So I could not find the words. Not even English is my first language. And so I actually, I went to Lehman, back to my university, and because that's where I learned my first languages. And so I went there. And so they were amazing. Dr. Mira Goral was everything for me. And the support of all of my colleagues over the years, all of my friends from middle school to high school, I mean, college, everybody. But the most important thing for me has been being able to see my children grow up, and also to make the difference in the world. I loved my job before, but this is very personal. And so I enjoy every step of the way of these 10 years. That's not to say that I haven't cried, because everybody knows that I'm a crybaby too, even when I'm doing our book clubs, just so that you know. So I just want to show you who I am and how I live now.
Thank you, Doreen. You've been such a wonderful advocate and friend to so many of us. So I want to say thank you for that. We also have a message in our chat box that says, Doreen, you look fabulous. Those glasses, the blazer, stunning. Okay. We also have a message in the chat that says this expert panel is phenomenal. And I, of course, agree, but it doesn't stop there, because next we have Coleman Watson, a lawyer, filmmaker, and former Senate candidate. Let me quickly put a spotlight on you. There you are. Coleman, thank you so much for being here. So when Coleman had his stroke, he had just one word, yes. So can you talk a bit about your journey from yes to running for a Senate seat?
Yeah, well, first, my name is Coleman Watson, as you know. I have been an attorney for 12 years. And I think my aphasia story really starts to know that I was a type of person that always want to plan my life before my stroke. So when I started my first law firm, it was a big law firm, and it was great because it gave me a lot resources to know how to start a case. But after 5 years, I decided to form my own law firm. So I started that my own with one assistant, but we grew to almost 8 people over 5 years. So about 1 year ago, before my stroke, and I told you I was a type of person to try to plan. About 1 year before my stroke, I was really into trying to be a federal judge. And I took all the steps to do it. And I was really close to have my applications and to read. But about, after that, actually in this office right here where you see right now, I was working on some work, and I had a train's urge to stand up. But when I tried, I couldn't. And so my stroke and aphasia story started right here in this house. When I get home, when I get to hospital, I never knew anything about a stroke, and I definitely didn't know anything about aphasia. So for 9 days, I was in the ICU, and I knew, as we all know, I knew what I was trying to say, but it was very humbling to know that for me, I thought my life was totally over, because at the time I was a global aphasia, so I couldn't talk at all. Like, yes, that was it. And so after I got to the hospital, I really thought I will better in 2 weeks and I'll be totally fine. Of course, I was wrong, But the thing was really that was really crazy for me. I needed speech at the time, but because of my insurance only gave me 40 hours for 1 year to rebuild my brain, I thought there was no way I will ever talk again. So I tried to go into intensive therapy with a great friend I have in Jacksonville, Florida. And I went there for 6 weeks, for 4 times, to try to regain my speech. That took a lot of work and a lot of money because, of course, it's private. There was no insurance at all. And so there were 2 things in my life that I thought I can to help about for me and other people with aphasia. Number one is when I could not really talk much, I thought I would love to see a film or a documentary about aphasia, because I didn't know, I could not write myself, but I would love to just watch about other people about aphasia. But there were very limited resources for that. And I told my speech therapist, Kayla, and I said, I think I would love to start a documentary myself. And of course, in my mind, I thought, why did I say that? Because it was so crazy. Because Coleman, you can't even talk, you cannot even read. So how can you do this? But like the video that Gabby said on her video, it started with just one step, and I learned film, lighting, audio, and all that stuff. And I got starting on the documentary. However, I want it to be good. Really good, I say. And I enrolled to a lot of online classes for film. So I'm still doing my documentary, but I'm doing totally on my own for two reasons. Number one, I don't have another person to help me. But the other one is I think my story is very so personal for me, because when you are a person with aphasia, you feel like you are a lot alone. So I thought maybe I want to do my documentary myself, because I want to convey that the documentary is about a film where you are trying to do that alone, which it's very hard, as you know. So after my documentary started, I get really mad because insurance, I had my coverage, which actually was great at the time. But I thought, I'm going to run for office because I don't think any person who have aphasia, who has in Publix, that they will not know or care about aphasia. So I decided to run for U.S. Senate in Florida. I filed in June, 1 year ago, and my campaign was there for almost 7 months. And I will tell you, when you in politics, the thing that is really hard is for your competitor. And so for me in Florida, Val Demings is a great candidate, So it's when you go to try to run, it's all about the money you have to run. And I didn't have that. And so I decided to decline my candidacy. And of course, I'm still into all of these same issues. And I want to work with other candidates on the same issues. So I'm not done running some later, but right now is not the time for me, I guess I'm saying. The last thing I will tell you is for me, aphasia has been probably the most emotional part of my life, not for just because aphasia, it was because all the things that went through with aphasia. So as you know, I had a stroke, which you had a stroke too. I have aphasia. Then I had to close my law firm, and I had 8 employees, and they were my family too. I had to, because I could not talk and do my cases, had to close my law firm. It was actually really hard because, there was my family. I mean, they're my employees, but they were my family. They had kids, everything, And so because I could not talk, I needed that speech therapist. It was very expensive. And thankfully, my family helped me. But the only reason I actually talk with you right now, because I want that speech therapist 4 times private. And I know a lot of people don't have the worst resources to do that. And I'm very thankful for my family to do that. But after that, all of the emotions you get for aphasia, I went back to my plan for my life, and I thought, okay, I will never get to be a federal judge. I don't think I'll do this and this and this. And you think that you are very depressed because that, But sometimes sometimes you have very little moments that make you know that your life is great at saving. My kids have been great. My son is 11, and my daughter is 8, and they are learning more about aphasia, about communication issues. So I will say the last thing I was saying, the bad stuff. I had to file bankruptcy. It was also hardly with my mind, because I thought I never not pay anything, but I had to do that because of my stroke. And then we had a lot of marriage issues. So my wife and I had separated because of the stroke. And so, I mean, I'm just saying that my story was not just the stroke and aphasia. It was all the things, the bankruptcy, the firm, the kids, the marriage, everything, all the time. But like I said, the things that you learn are the small moments that know that you are matter in your life. And I'm sorry I like too much time for this, but I talk too much, I guess. But now I wanted to talk before because I can talk now. So look, thank you for my time.
We will never cut you off. The more you want to talk, the more it is okay with us.
Yeah.
So I want to say that there is a comment in the chat box that says, I am so, so, so proud of you, Coleman. Your story and the person you are inspires me daily. We also have many comments from our friends who are eager to watch your film. And so just as a quick reminder, it should be out before the end of this year. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, let's jump right into the questions because we have quite a few of them. So Coleman, you actually did touch on this a little bit, but we so often see that there is a correlation of depression and a high risk of depression after a stroke. So can we also talk about mental health as it relates to aphasia?
Mm-hmm. You know, actually, when I doing the research on my documentary, I have a segment about the rates of people in when you try to kill yourself,
Suicide.
Yes, sorry. And I know that people that have a stroke, there are 3 more times usually to have that. But I don't really know the stats about aphasia. I imagine that it will the same or maybe higher because of the issues that we're talking about. For mental issues, I think depression has been the worst for me. And I don't think I'm not depressed now, but I think the thing I can tell you is that there is a point in your recovery. You have to you have to give yourself permission to grieve about your prior life. So for me, I had to realize that I will never be the same person, and I want to be the same person before, but the grieving issues helped me to give to bury my old self so I can go forward. Because I feel if you don't recognize that you'll never be the same person again, the best thing you can say, you should give yourself a universal about for yourself, even though you're still alive, because that helped me to go forward with my life.
Can I speak about that for a minute? Also, I went through it, and I never thought that I thought that I could never recuperate, it's like you go into the rabbit hole. You go in and you don't know when it's going to stop, and every day is a channel, I can't say it, channel. It was, we think about it. when the first year was the hardest part, and it was very difficult to even, you can't say it. For example, if you go to a speech psychologist, so to assess, they can't assess because they can't speak. I can't speak, so they can't tell you exactly what happened. Even to go for getting benefits, like Cole is saying, to going to get to go Social Security, and they do it as they send you to an assessment, and in that assessment is a psychologist person who doesn't know about aphasia. So it's difficult to even relate, how dark you are, that moment when it's happening. Your whole life was pulled out of your rugs. I mean, a rug is pulling out of your how do you say it?
It's being pulled out from under you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And many times still, it gets better, truly, slowly but surely, every day trying is all I have to say. Just trying. And also when it was getting too intense for me, okay, it's time to sleep. Just sleep, and tomorrow it's better, slowly but surely. It's many phases you go through until you get in the rhythm of your own life again, and trying to figure it out, because it's something that alien to us. So thank you, Coleman, for saying that, because that is the truth. I know.
General Mike Hayden, do you have any comments about this?
Well, again, I'm only 1, 2, 3.5 years ago, and I'm pretty old, and so I'm sad about what happened, but I also did a lot of things for my entire life, and so good for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Cris, did you have to deal with the grieving process for who you used to be compared to who you are now?
Absolutely. I found a really wonderful psychologist who specialized in rehab psychology, and she helped me. She actually used the same terminology that Coleman used, which was I needed to bury the old Cris and find the new Cris. And it was only through that process that she helped me through, where I began to be able to kind of move forward and feel like I was able to move on. I was really stuck in the fact that I was completely alone during my ICU stay. The fact that my husband had a very different experience than I did, because I didn't realize how bad my stroke had been until days later, because I was completely alone. And that really, really messed with me. And I really needed help, outside help, to not only to give me permission to grieve and to guide me through my grief, in order to be able to find out who the new Cris is. There are some things that I will never get back. Some things have come back. There are some things that will never come back. Those months that I had with my very young baby, I had to give up nursing because of the medications that I was on. There's a lot of things that I will never get back. And it was very important for me to find someone to help me, as a professional, to help me through. I was also I still am on medication for depression and anxiety. And I think that is completely expected and normal, because I think the way that Coleman described it is perfect. It's, you have to bury your old self and find out who the new one is. And I think that is about the best description that I could even imagine. So thank you, Coleman, for talking about that. That you've kind of given me a lot to think about today.
Good.
So we're very close to the end of our session, but I know that there are some topics that are coming up a lot in our Q&A chat and also in our chat box. So I'm hoping we can at least address 2 more questions. Cris, you kind of touched on it a little bit already. Can we talk a little bit about the role of the family in aphasia? And that could include care partner care, or how things may have changed in your family, and how you personally dealt with it. And this question is open to everyone.
I can talk about this a little bit. The role of family, which I already addressed, but it was very important for my husband and I to get on the same page. It took a while, and I completely relate with what Coleman was saying. We also had to deal with a new phase of our marriage, and so the fact that family saved me, but I also had to find my role as a parent. My 5-year-old, a 4-year-old at the time, anytime I would give him a command and it always came out wrong, he would look at me and say, "Why did you say it that way?" And so, sometimes I felt like I had no authority in my own house because my words were completely wrong. Sometimes I was able to laugh about that. There were some times that I was crying about it. So.
Yeah. I will say, for me, that's helping for me. I'm sorry, the thing that has been helped me with my family is using the whiteboard still. Even though my speech has been much better, I have realized that if I'm the person talking, it's much easier for me to just talk. But if a person gives me a very specific question, I struggle about the words. But my family knows that I need the whiteboard to help me. And my kids know that too. And it has been a daily issue for us on the whiteboard. But actually, I think have been closer for my kids too.
Doreen, did you have anything to add?
Yes, that's a good point, Coleman. But what about if you can't write either? Yeah, that was my problem. But in my case, I had 2 teenagers, and they were so, I think, I'm just so grateful that my kids are amazing. I'm just saying, because they truly stepped up to the plate. They follow me. My son would help me because my balance was always off. My daughter knew what I wanted to say, what I wanted to eat, what I wanted to. I would just say, I just do it in effort, and she would say, they will give me the space, and they didn't know nothing about aphasia. They Googled it. When all of this happened, I was very grateful that way. Even as we relocated back into New York, and they had to go to into their lives and everything, always checking in and following through, and that I couldn't speak when it all happened. Also, when I relocated back home, and I was lucky. Also, you know, it's what they say, the family and also the people that hold you up, you know, slowly but surely, constant. That to me was everything. And so I'm just very grateful that I'm alive, grateful that I encountered these angels around me always. And so, um, and also for all this new community helping each other, you know, wonderful.
So for me, the family is very, very important. We have 3 kids. They were very good for me and the family. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grandkids. And that was very good for me. One of my sons, for example, is a foreign service officer, and he's in Ukraine right now. And so there's a lot going on, but the family is together, so to speak, and that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I know we are out of time. I think this question is very important though, so I'm hoping we can just quickly address it. How can we get more involved in advocacy, whether it be self-advocacy or aphasia awareness?
Let's see. Well, I will say first, I go to a center in Jacksonville, even though I live in Orlando. It's like almost 3 hours, but I go because of the community with them. I would say that if you have a person with aphasia, you really should try to get to join a group very close with your house, because the help really helps you to regain your life again.
I agree. There is so much to do yet. There is, I am very involved from day one with advocacy everywhere. And so not just for the stroke, but for aphasia, obviously. And so the most important thing is speaking about it. You know, you have to speak with your own circle, and then it will expand. The ripple works. And so that's one way. And if you're alone, like my case, for example, I was alone when my kids just left into their colleges and doing everything. I decided to go back into advocacy, to working with people that needed more than what I already have, you know. And so I went to college, and in school, I start speaking with students. After students, I'm in love with books, and so I went to libraries and doing the advocacy in libraries, and finding your people. Like I always say, go into your groups. National Aphasia Association has a list of affiliates from organizations everywhere that have advocacy and also groups, so that you're not alone. You know, you could do it in groups, you could do it with, you know, with others, or with by yourself. You can also write for your congressman. You can I do that every month. I go to my to my politicians in the Bronx. And so it's a constant battle. And also it's a lovely thing to give back and to help those that need more, you know. And so just try. Go into National Aphasia Association, aphasia.org, and there is a list of many things that can be done. And if not, you can call me Doreen at aphasia.org. I'm all over it. And by the way, I also do international advocacy with National Aphasia Association for all of the Americas and Spain. And so never give up.
Yes, so if you are a Spanish speaker, definitely contact Doreen, and I've put her email in the chat.
And Portuguese.
Or Portuguese. Mike, you had mentioned Stroke Comeback Center. How was it that you found the Stroke Comeback Center?
It's very interesting. It's only 10 minutes away. It's a wonderful thing for me. I didn't realize that. And I went one time and said, well, it's okay. But later on, as you said in my speech, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things a week, every week. And so it's really nice. Like on the weekend, we had a picnic, and it was wonderful to talk about aphasia for those people again. So it's very, very interesting. And also too, 3 or 4 times, because I was a CIA director and CNN, I've talked to aphasia a lot, and I think I want to try more and more, because many times people just don't, they don't know about that.
Mhm.
Thank you. Cris, so someone in our chat said that they often just put their hand up and say, stop, let me finish. Did you ever find that that was a strategy that you had to use, or did you have other strategies you used?
One thing that I felt comfortable doing was starting out a conversation with, I recently had a stroke, and usually that helped people to kind of give me time. I never felt comfortable saying, stop, let me finish. But a lot of times I would say, I had a stroke, help me, like help me get through this. Another thing, I don't really have a platform as all the most of you have. In my little world, I filmed myself and I published those videos on Facebook. I don't think a lot of people would be comfortable doing that. I was, and so I felt like that was my little way of advocate for myself and for people with aphasia to see what my recovery looked like. The first video that I posted, I could not say my husband's name. I couldn't say aphasia. I couldn't say stroke. I couldn't say apraxia. It was all jumbled and it made no sense. And I got so many comments just from people that I'm friends with on Facebook, who said, I had no idea that this is what it's like. I even had a friend who, she was a medical reporter who had been trying, who was familiar with the concept of aphasia and stroke. And she said, I have never seen anything like this. And so now I understand so much better, better than anything else that I have ever seen before. And so the fact that I just advocated for myself, I'm not really the one to go to big groups and be part of meetings. That's just really not my personality. But I'm willing to share myself and I'm willing to share my experience. And so I think everybody needs to find the way, what they're comfortable with. If they're willing to be part of a meeting and not say anything, that's fine. If you want to post your own videos on Facebook to show people the progression of your recovery, that's fine. You know, I think that as long as you're able to talk about it and share about it, anything that you're willing to do, it's going to help. It's going to help.
Thank you so much. I think that's actually a really wonderful place to leave it today, especially because we've gone over time. I really wish we could talk about this for another hour, and I probably could. There were definitely some moments I got a little bit emotional today. So I would really like to thank everyone on our panel for being here with us and for being so open, for contributing so much to our community. Darlene, was there something that you wanted to say? Oh, you're on mute.
Myself there. Just a huge thank you to everyone. Both the attendees and the panelists. We're all one family. We're all one community. And I've loved following the chat box with everyone putting in their thoughts and what they do. And this is exactly what the NAA is all about. So thank you to everyone and have a happy Aphasia Month. Keep following us for the rest of the month.
Me too.
And so I'm actually going to share some more information for anyone who needs it. Our next Ask the Expert is related to primary progressive aphasia, and we will be talking with people living with primary progressive aphasia. On July 14th, we'll be talking to Brooke Lang, who is a speech language pathologist, I believe in Pittsburgh, and she will be talking about ways to build a home practice program. Doreen had mentioned this a little bit earlier. We have some amazing online groups. We have some new online groups. And so if you haven't already, I would really encourage you to check out aphasia.org/online-events. We have conversations about health and wellness, about mental health, about parenting with aphasia. So if you are a parent with aphasia, we have a group for you. Tomorrow, we have a summer group that meets once a week to discuss current topics, and that's called Buzzworthy. We also have a game group, and that is also meeting tomorrow. If you are interested in any of these, please feel free to send me